The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated.
I'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and I'm here with the panel, Dr. Scott Gersher and Dr. Mark Bound, and we are ready today. Woo!
At least you remembered who I was this time.
Yeah, this time I remembered who you were. Well, now you've got your glasses are off, so I don't recognize you at all. Could be anybody back there. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, he's no longer Clark Kent, I can tell you that.
Yeah. This is my Superman look.
Yeah, so in any event, we three are here, and we are going to discuss some of the issues that we find concerning again over the next 3 episodes, and then next week we will get back to your questions. Please do keep them coming. Send us your emails, thoughts, questions, and concerns, and we will do our best to wend our way through them. So, Mark, Scott?
Well, all right, so here's the one I want to hit up. So the other night, of course, the New York Mets this week, when we're taping this, are playing in Los Angeles. And I'm sorry, I can't stay up until like 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the game. Just doesn't happen. So I was flipping around, and one of the teams I really like to watch is Toronto. I like the Blue Jays. I like watching them. And they were playing the dreaded and often feared Philadelphia Phillies in Toronto, and they were at the Rogers Center, which is the home stadium of Toronto. And in past years, whenever you looked at the advertisements at Rogers Center, they were fairly generic. But as I was watching the game, it surprised me how pro-Canadian these advertisements were. I mean, truly. Now they're starting to they say, our team, our Canadian team. They never used to say that. Rogers, which is, I guess, a big corporation that owns the Toronto Blue Jays, and which the Rogers Center is named after. Rogers, the owner of the Toronto Blue Jays, our Canadian team. I mean, the idea that now, if there's one thing maybe the Canadians can take that's good from the Trump rhetoric, is that there's a new sense of nationalism in Canada. There truly is. And they're proud of themselves. They have this thing on Tuesdays, and like I said, when I was watching, it was on a Tuesday night. They have a thing called their Looney Dogs, and they sell them at $1 a piece. Now, normally they'll sell 20,000 during a game. As I'm watching, and they're watching the board, and there's on the scoreboard, it shows how many Looney Dogs they've sold. Over 70,000. I mean, that's just mind-boggling, because I think the Canadians are truly taking on, that sense of, hey, we're a pretty good nation. We're a great nation. We have a lot, and the hell with those Americans. And you could see it as you were watching the game, and you were watching the Rogers Center, and all of the the trappings of which are normally there, of course, for Major League Baseball. But the trappings of how proud the Canadians are of their country and their teams, and they're now starting to truly express it, that they never used to do it that way. That was just not what they were. Canadians were always just very laid back, very nice, that's what people thought of the Canadians. They're beginning to become very vocal about how proud they are of being Canadian, and the fact that they intend to stay Canadian, and that's all there is to it.
The loonie is a $1 coin with a loon literally on it. There's also a toonie, which is a $2 coin, and I forget what's on the. What.
Probably a beaver.
The picture, is it a beaver? I don't remember.
I have no idea.
I don't remember. I haven't.
But that's why it's Looney Night, because you can buy a loony dog for a loony.
Yeah,
and that's why they have it.
A $1 coin.
But think about that. You've got a stadium that holds around about 40,000 people, and at the time that I actually shut off the game because the dreaded Philadelphia was winning, it was about the 6th inning. They had sold over 70,000 of these things. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that is incredible. And when you think about it, and if you've ever watched these games before, if they sold 20, 30,000, that was a lot. We're talking the fourth inning, and they got 70,000 sold. It's just, I think it truly does show the pride the Canadians have, and I think it's a good thing. I really do. I think the Canadians deserve to be proud. I love Canada. Being from the upstate of New York, not from down where Scott's from. Most of the people from down where Scott's from would say that people in the upstate were really Canadian anyway. By the way we talked and everything. Oh, they're just Canada South, the upstate of New York, the Finger Lakes region. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good thing. And if there's one thing that, again, I say that if there's a positive out of Trump's absolutely nasty, stupid rhetoric, I think it is a resurgence of Canadian pride that the Canadians have. And I think that, maybe you got to take some good out of some of this stuff. You got to.
I know that Canadians are not coming here, which is not a good thing. I mean, well, it's good for them to, travel within Canada and go elsewhere. And it's certainly normal to travel to Cuba, for example, where Americans would not even think of going. And I know my daughter and her spouse, they would travel across the border to do things and go shopping or whatever, and they haven't crossed in months, probably since the election, and they don't have any plans to come over, period. Nobody wants to come here, or very few people do. And even people from Germany have been detained. One young German man was detained for some reason. It's not clear to me. He was here traveling. I mean, the numbers of people who are staying away, and I think it was it the Stanley Cup that JD Vance was saying, yeah, we want you to come here, watch the game, and then go home. I mean, what kind of welcome is that? I mean, people would, if you want to watch the game, watch it on television and stay home. Don't even bother to come here. Go someplace else. Go to Canada. And as you say, Mark, I mean, the Canadians, when I lived there, they were very definitely not American. They weren't sure what their national identity was, but they were very definitely positive that it was not American. And this was after the 2001, the terrorist attack, September 11th. And people were afraid, the Canadians were afraid to come to the United States because they might say or do the wrong thing, and they were afraid they would be shot because Americans would mistake them for terrorists, and the Canadians were afraid to come here then. And of course, it's much worse now. And I don't blame them. Canadians should have pride and the elbows up, which I think is wonderful. And I hope also that what's happening here with the corruption, it helps to encourage the rule of law. Every time I hear a Canadian leader speak, whether it's Doug Ford or Prime Minister Mark Carney, it would be Premier Doug Ford of Ontario, or the Prime Minister. They talk about rule of law. We're a rule of law country, and that really emphasizes the distinction now between Canada and the United States. And it makes me realize how small the United States has become in stature globally due to Trump's corruption. Just like when the South African, not sure if it's the South African president or if it's the prime minister, when he came, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the gentleman's name, saying that he was sorry he didn't have an airplane to give to Trump. And Trump said, well, if you had one, he would take it. And I thought, what an awful comment. Of course, everybody laughed, like it was a joke, but it's not a joke. Trump, I'm sure, would take another airplane from South Africa. And all those photos that Trump showed, and wheeling the TV in, and he had a film all ready to go to show this man. And of course, the film is not what Trump showed of all the crosses, is not what Trump said it was. It's a memorial, not a graveyard. The photos are from the DRC and from possibly from other nations, but certainly from the DRC. The South Africans, some of them were laughing at Trump for his ignorance. The citizens were laughing at him. It's the United States is very small now, and the amount of fear in the United States, it's interesting. As we shrink globally in our stature, the amount of fear in this country is growing. And as you say, Mark, the amount of pride also in Canada is growing. And as I understand on the shelves, anything that's made in America is either not being purchased at all or has been removed from the shelves. People like the governor of Kentucky and other governors have really tried very hard to rekindle and keep the relationships that they did have with the Canadian premiers going, to try to encourage them to continue to buy the products that had been traded, and it's not happening. Canadians will not purchase them. Everything's come off the shelves. We've lost in this country now billions, I think, in tourism and in trade. And Trump has not stopped his insults with the 51st state, nor has he stopped talking about Greenland. It's just incredible to me. So I want to know what you thought.
So I did stay up and watch the Met game last night, and it ended badly.
Yes, I know. Not like the day before.
Yeah, the day before was great.
Yeah.
But it's and I thought most interesting yesterday was the way Shohei Ohtani is affecting their entire team. The way they hold their bats now in their batting stance is like they're holding up a samurai sword almost, or something like that. He's straight up, bat straight up in the air, and he's a hell of a player, man. When he hits that ball, it really goes. He does strike out a lot, but
he does.
But anyway. As far as Canada is concerned, and Greenland, I think they'll be okay. I think everybody will be okay up there. Panama, we haven't heard a whole lot about Panama recently. That was another one of these targets. I'm guessing that these are mostly distractions and they're not real things. So I mean, Trump is obviously insane, so who knows? But it's nothing like U.S. policy is not going to change that quickly that this can actually occur. And yes, the good people of Canada should be insulted by it. And my brother was in Toronto last week, and he said, it was fairly quiet. And I asked him if anybody bothered him, and he said only when we told him that they should be the 51st state. And it seemed to be a bit of humor there, rather than a real bone of contention. I mean, we're dealing with a lunatic, so I don't think anybody is taking him overly seriously there.
How was your brother's getting across the border? What
he didn't say it was any problem. My son was in Montreal for Memorial Day weekend, and he didn't have any kind of problems with that. So
they driving across?
I believe David flew, but I may not be right about that. But my son definitely drove and didn't have a problem. It could be I should have asked him if there was a lot of traffic, because I'm sure they do slow you down.
Yeah. Well, go Canada.
Yeah. Well, I had just understood that in at least out in Vancouver, there were at least U.S. Customs and Border Enforcement on the U.S. side questioning Americans on their way out, or questioning every fourth car on their way out of the country.
That's great and random. We should probably end this segment and then do another one and talk about what ICE is up to in the States. That would be a good topic.
Yeah. So that was why I wondered if there was anything like that happening out here at the eastern side.
Yeah. We'll hit that next time around. But I can say our new outro music is actually authored by a Canadian. So go Canada.
Go Canada. Yes, elbows up. So thank you to everyone for listening, and we will see you again on the Nova Society next time, where we will discuss what ICE is doing. No. We decided and we'll talk about ICE, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you, everyone.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of NovaWorks, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description.